All right, I talked a big game about our fall wreath making, but I am also very passionate about making floral arrangements and centerpieces. So I'm going to show you how to use some of the supplies that I got at Michael's today, primarily to make this floral arrangement. So what I'm doing is I'm using a glue pot, and what I love about the glue pot is it is always ready to go, and it's almost like hands-free designing. So I'm going to take this piece of floral foam that I had already sized out, and I'm going to secure it to the bottom of this base, which the base is from Pioneer. I'll try and call out when something's not from Michael's, just so people know where to find supplies. All right, so I like to establish what the primary color is going to be. For this, we're going to be using these purple peonies from Michael's that I love. And we're going to be using a Lazy Susan because what we want to do is make sure that every side of an arrangement like this looks its best. If it was something like it's going on an entryway table, you may feel differently, or a windowsill, and you only need 3 sides. But for what we're doing today, we want every side to be the best side. All right, so I'm going to go around and I want to make sure that I'm equally spreading out these different colors and textures. Okay. So once I've gone in with my primary layer, I have my focal flower, which is the highest point, and then everything else is balanced. And now I'm going to go in with these orange peonies, and if you saw my video, you know that this is not what Michael's peonies look like this year. This year's are much brighter, not as natural, but I am appreciative that I have some from last year that I can still use. So here we go. Amen to people who overshop. All right, so I am going to just go through and just create a little balance, like peppering it in. And I don't want these all on the same level. So you'll see that I may think I know where I want it to go. But based on how it falls with other flowers, I might lower it. I might bend it. You know, whenever we're dealing with things in nature, or flowers and plants, things grow towards the sun. They're not all up and down and straight. So we want to create that same kind of feel here with our floral arrangement. All right, and so after that, we're going to start putting in some textured greenery. And I like this because this is a fall seeded eucalyptus. It's got the details of the berries. It's got a little bit of green, a little bit of red. And I think that's really going to complement the purple and orange. I'm feeling like so non-traditionally into fall colors right now, but I'm actually so excited about it. So here we go. We've got our first piece in. And like, what do you think? It almost is like middle of the road between the orange and the purple. So we're going to use a lot of this as a filler. Okay. Sometimes I make my Lazy Susan even lazier by not actually turning her. Here we go. And we're just going to start filling in some gaps. Now, one thing when floral designing is you never want to forget the angle. So even though we're looking down on this, it's really important at the end to make sure that we've covered up all of our mechanics. So we don't want to lose sight of that. Okay. So who out there has been reading Colleen Hoover books? Because I'm pretty much obsessed. I mean, I've read a few really good books this summer. But I read It Ends With Us, and I was so excited to read that it was about a woman who was a florist, and she wanted like something that was almost like the antithesis of people who love flowers. So she went like really dark and industrial. And what I love about it being a book is that I had no actual way to see what she was talking about. So it made me really use my imagination and drill down into like, what is dark and beautiful for people who fall somewhere in the middle. So now we've got some purple, orange, and softer red tones. And we're going to go in with these sharper red tones. Red is not my favorite color. It's my least favorite color. But when you have a piece like this that has like this level of detail with the berries and the golden tips to it, this is going to add a lot of visual interest. And that's what you want. I mean, we can all play it safe and that might be great, but like sometimes don't you just want to break out and make something like so special that people haven't seen it before? Because that's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's what's making me really, really excited for what I get to do every day. So as long as I'm feeling it, I am going to be doing it. All right, so we're starting to introduce these darker shades. And again, we're going around because right now we have an exposed foam block at the bottom. And we're going to do some things to hide that mechanics in the end. But even until then, we want to be designing so that we're kind of having this piece that is almost like overflowing over this chalice style base. So malleable. Everything is so malleable. Never forget that, because if you think that you can't mess around with flowers or you're going to ruin or break something, you absolutely will not. I am so far from delicate. I need to be working with things that can kind of like take a beating. All right, so now we're going to go in with these. These are calla lilies. Let's get the tag off. Nobody wants a sophisticated item delivered to them with price tags. And I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna do this in 3s. Odd numbers are usually my thing when it comes to floral designing. It doesn't have to be. If you know me, you know I am highly OCD, so I like things to be mirrored and matched, but also not like matchy-matchy. Because things that are natural are not matchy-matchy. So we don't want to take that away from what we're trying to do. And really, like, one of my goals lately has been to show people just, talk about me not being delicate, show people just how realistic florals can be, like faux florals. Like, I could totally see this in somebody's wedding bouquet, you know, arrangement in their home that isn't that like cheap look of like the stigma that used to come along with silk flowers. Like these babies have come a long way. So because I'm doing these in odd numbers, I am going to try and just strategically place out where they are. So if you take a look, see it's like boop, boop, boop. Okay, I probably won't make that noise again. I'm sorry. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Anyways, we'll blame it on the rosé. All right, now let's go in and introduce some serious drama. And we're gonna use these ranunculus, and they're almost like peacock shade. Like there's like the lighter side, the darker side, and these are going to be just stunning up against the colors that we're putting in there. Let me just make sure got enough over. And let's make a cut. Let's see. So I'm going to try and space these out so that they're not competing with my calla lily. Now for me, I just cut this too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let that cool a second. I'm going to grab a different one and cut it. And since our calla lilies are such a statement piece, I'm going to try and put these in between. And yes, the beauty of live video, I'm still cutting this too short. So again, I'm going to let that cool a little bit. Go back to this one, cut it. And go and secure this in the foam block. My intuition is always if at first it like irks you and you don't love it, that's not going to change. So don't like give it time. Don't walk away and see if you like it. If you know it's already bothering you, it's just going to get worse. So here we go. Need to grab one more. Okay, and this is the third of these. So we had 3 of the calla lilies, and now we're using 3 of these beautiful deep turquoise ranunculus. All right, let's give it a quick spin. Kind of like anywhere you look, there's something of visual interest. All right, so as I'm noticing as I'm spinning this is that there's not a perfect balance, so we're just going to keep going and fill that in. So these like raspberry, like deep raspberry thistles were one of my favorite things that I found because I've never seen these before. I'm like, damn girl, so dramatic, and I love it. And I'm so excited to use it because what it's going to do is it's going to jump into a piece like this and it's going to break things up. It's going to stick out, and that's what we want. When we're talking about creating anything that replicates nature in any way, it's not going to be all nice and neat. You don't want to go to somebody's garden and have everything nice and neat. That doesn't like feel good. It doesn't feel natural. So that is kind of what these thistle are going to do for our arrangement. So what I'm doing is you can always manipulate how flowers come. So even though these come on a, a stem like this, I don't really want to put all 3 pieces in the stem. So what I'm doing is I snipped 1 piece off. I have 2 long pieces, one of which I'm going to bend. And that way I'm getting the most out of my product, and I'm also, again, getting that like natural aesthetic, which is what my goal is. Okay. So let's go back in. Oh, let's use these. So these like hot pink chrysanthemums were on clearance. They were 70% off because they're part of Michael's summer line. So I paid about $2.30 each. And I'm going to use these sparingly because it's definitely not the predominant color. I just want to use it to break up the existing flowers that we have in this piece. So I'm just going to use 2, and I'm going to space them out quite a bit. So looking, we're going to go for it right here. All right, cut that too high. It's all trial and error. But again, when you go to put something in, if it doesn't look or feel right, reassess and then make the changes before it's too late, because it's much harder to make a change once all the glue has dried and your foam block has settled. It'll be much harder to put things in and out. Right now, a lot of this is still very, very warm and active, so we can pull things in and out. You're not married to anything that you're doing. I'm literally manhandling this, but that's okay, because that's the beauty of full flowers. All right, so, I mean, how narcissistic is it? But I'm already like loving this, and we still got quite a few steps to go. All right, so I earned a sip of rosé. Gonna do that. Cheers. And now we're gonna introduce some more texture. All right, so give me a second. Now these eucalyptus leaves are from 2021 Michaels. Super pretty. I didn't see them when I was there the other day. I don't know if I just missed it. But they're so versatile, whether it's for spring, fall, whatever. Even Halloween. When you're thinking about some of these colors, there's like a really chic way to do Halloween. And I'm 100% in favor of that. I don't do scary, because it scares me. I don't like being scared. And then we're gonna go in with some of this other foliage that has like a nice dark purple hue at the edges. And what I like about foliage is, yes, you could use just one thing. You could use, you know, whether it's lemon leaves or eucalyptus or whatever. But the more you introduce to your arrangements, the more like someone just doesn't take a quick glance at what you're doing. It's like they really actually like stop and are like, wow. And to me, like, that's what makes something floral art. I was in New York last month and went to the Museum of, what was it? Museum of Design. And they happen to have a floral exhibit, which was just perfect for me. But what I really loved was like seeing how people take things to the next level. Also, the museum had a bunch of like really cool books to look through to see like what floral art looks like. Like anything can be art. Doesn't have to be a painting. Like this is absolutely can be considered art. What you make of it. All right, so let's give us a little spin and let's start to look at what parts are lacking, like that focal point or are too clustered. So to me, you know, once we shift things around, this looks great. But then looking here, okay, like we definitely have like a balding spot right here. So let's go in with a new element. Let's go in with some of these fall berries. And let's break up this flower party a little bit. They look a little too comfortable. So here we go. So what I typically do when I'm arranging is I'll go through, if I think I'm gonna use pretty much all of like a bush or something, I'll clip everything so that I can just easily access it and, you know, plug it right in. However, at the end, say I have like 4 of these left, I'll zip tie them together just so that, you know, the product doesn't go to waste and I can plug it in at a later date. All right, so here we go. We're gonna take some of these beautiful orange fall berries, and not all berries are created the same. There's a lot of foam berries that I just don't think stand up to time. These are nice. These have kind of like a nice layer on the outside that I think is going to protect them. I always use Krylon's UV protectant spray on things because it prevents like sun damage. And even if you have an arrangement that's going to be in a house, it's still going to get sun exposure. So always take that step. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know, $12 a can, $10 a can. But if you can give your customer something that is going to last them years versus like a year or 2, it's worth it. It's worth it to take that time. And also if, you know, you're doing this yourself for your home or to, you know, gift this to a friend, just take that extra step because it will mean the difference of something lasting short-term versus long-term. All right. So what I'm doing with these berries is I'm kind of creating like a certain flow. Like they're not fitting in. This one's a little long. They're not blending in, which is exactly what I want them to do. I want them to kind of like jump out at you and create this like movement that you would find in nature. And I keep going to this one spot because just something is missing. And what I think that something is missing is a bit of balance with the purple peony. So I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to stop and go back, even though that was like our first step. I need to go back and fill that so that ratio-wise it's very balanced looking, okay? And you know what happens once that goes in? It's beautiful. And I feel like it needs a little bit of extra orange now. So that's fine. We're going to balance that right out. Okay. So beautiful. I'm looking at some of these pallies. I want to bend them. I think they're going towards the sun. Let's see, guys. What else do we want to do? All right, so these fern I love because they are kind of like the chartreuse green, which we haven't had a ton of light in this. So it's got a little bit of purple tinge, which tells me like it's past its spring growth date, which goes exactly hand in hand with what we're doing here. And it has a lot of movement, okay? Super pliable, flexible, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm going to put this in to create some of that natural movement. And like these steps here where we're taking like berries and all these little things, they might not seem that important, but honestly, like they are, in my mind, what makes something next level. Like it's all about the detail. Could you use, you know, 3 bushes of the same thing and it's pretty? Yep, absolutely. But you want to do something that's going to make people say like, wow, like I'm still thinking about that. Like that's, I mean, and obviously I'm like a floral geek about these things, but I'm sure we've all had gifts that like we love and then things that were like, oh, okay, that was nice. We're going for love. We want something that's one of a kind, someone's never seen before, and something that they can never forget, right? Our home is our haven, especially the last few years, and when we put something in it, we want it to be something very, very special that makes us happy to be there. All right, so we are getting full here. We're getting towards the end. And so let me just evaluate if there's any more elements. And you know what? I'd hate myself if I didn't use this. So this is some type of, I want to say like a heather. I think I'm making that up, but I think it's supposed to be like heather. So again, this came in like, you know, 3s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this so that it meets my needs for this design. So we're going to take our first one, and I don't want these near the other blue flowers that we have because I want this to be like a disruptor. Okay. So here we go. And I love, this is going to be like higher than everything else. And it's going to stand out. And just imagine this, like whether it's on your kitchen island or your dining room or your entryway table, like something that, or especially a foyer, to be so pretty in a foyer, but just something that you don't like see everywhere. It's not like your Marshall's fake water thing. Like this is something that you can be so, so proud of, whether you made it, you bought it, you gifted it, like whatever it is, like something that someone's actually going to take time to stop and take a look at, because that's our goal. Beauty in flowers, and also the beauty in the expression when we gift flowers. Let me just go back through. I'm just going to pepper these to even out our form. You can see. So the more we put things into here, you know, the more some areas may be fluffed or may need to be fluffed. Things might be a little crowded. So we want to go back. So for this piece has been bothering me. It's too much of this one foliage in one spot. So I'm just going to manipulate it to meet the needs of this arrangement. So that means I'm going to trim some of it off and discard it. And that's fine. That's not a waste. Using it and having the form of your arrangement not look right would be a much bigger waste. So we're going to just pull that off in here. Don't be afraid. Okay. Oh, you know what? I had one other thing. Well, I have two other things. What should I do? I have these like gorgeous Real Touch orchids that are like purple black. And then I also have these cherry blossoms that are kind of like varying shades of purple. All right, kids, we're at a crossroad. I think I'm going to go with the cherry blossoms for this and maybe hold on to those orchids more for Halloween. Either would have worked, but let's just go with one. All right, so I took that one stem and in it I cut 5 pieces and we're going to go through and distribute them. No, I lied, 6 pieces, even better. And this can be helpful. You might hear my dog, Steve, crying in the background, but he's fine. So when you're pricing out the cost of florals, take a moment to try and decipher like just how far, not that too long, just how far one item might go. So like this chrysanthemum, granted it was on sale and was $2. Originally it was $7. So like, is it worth it to spend $7 for one flower? You just have to assess that and decide if it's got enough, you know, of a punch that it's worth it for you or not. Okay, going around, creating that balance. Because at this point, we're really looking at orange, purple, blue, and hot pink. So here I'm looking, this is a little bit on the short side. Let's just push that up. All right. And let's put this right here, smack in the center. All right, now the last step that we're gonna do is we are going to cover up our mechanics. So like, I'm not saying every person's really gonna go and like look under here to see what is there or isn't, but it could happen. And if you want something to look polished and professional, then you need to cover your mechanics. So what I do is I use preserved moss, it's dry, and I use floral pins, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the perimeter, and I'm going to put the moss in, and then I'm going to add a floral pin just to hold it into place. And then after this, I am going to take my Krylon UV protectant spray and I'm going to treat this. And I'll probably do like 2 applications. You know, you spray it for maybe 30 seconds on the surface. It dries very quickly. And then I'll probably wait like, I don't know, an hour or so, just so it's effective, and then reapply. All right, so thank you guys so much for coming along this little floral arranging journey with me. And I hope you like this design, and I'd love to get some feedback on it. Thank you.